In this episode, I reflect on what 50 conversations have taught me about courage in public health, how it shows up, why it often goes unnoticed, and what changes when we begin to name it clearly. Because if there's one thing I see now, it's this. Courage is already happening. It's just not being recognized. And when it is, something shifts. You're listening to the Courageous Public Health Podcast, episode 50. To all the courageous women leading in public health, this podcast is your space to turn up the volume on your courage. This space centers your voice. This space celebrates your passion. This space amplifies your courage. My role? To listen, to amplify, and to stand with you in the fight for equity. My name is Dr. McClamroch. I am an epidemiologist, consultant, the founder and CEO of Courageous Public Health, and the host of the Courageous Public Health Podcast. Each week, I have real, unfiltered conversations with women in public health about the challenges you face, the power you hold, and your vision for the future. We talk about the authenticity, vulnerability, and courage that you bring, not just to public health, but to every part of your lives. Because courage is about action, even in fear. It's about taking up space, leading unapologetically, refusing to be erased, and knowing you never have to do it alone. If you're ready to turn up the volume on your courage, if you're ready to take up space, if you're ready to smash the racist, patriarchal, cisnormative, heteronormative, ableist, capitalistic systems, then listen to this new episode. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. McClamroch, and this is episode 50 of the Courageous Public Health Podcast. 50 episodes. And it feels a little surreal. If you go back to episode 1, you'll hear something very different. You'll hear me sitting in uncertainty, questioning whether I was articulate enough, smart enough, engaging enough, and choosing to hit record anyway. That was courage. I just didn't fully understand it yet. I created this podcast to make the courage of women of color in public health visible and to understand how courage actually works. If you want the full story behind it, you can always go back and listen to episode 1. I encourage you to go back and listen to episode 1 if you haven't heard it. But today, I want to talk about what I've learned. Because after 50 conversations with women in public health, I'm no longer asking what courage is. I'm seeing it. And interestingly, that clarity didn't come all at once. A few weeks ago, someone I respect told me that they had gone back and listened to my first episode. She told me she was listening for my why, and she said she didn't quite hear it. And that was interesting to me because I know it's there. But what it showed me is this. Sometimes something can be present and still not be legible, even when you're looking for it. And what makes something legible isn't saying more. It's naming it clearly enough that it cannot be missed. So let me say this clearly. I created this podcast to make the courage of women in color in public health visible, and to understand how that courage actually operates in real life. And I think that insight applies in other ways too. I am a white woman hosting a podcast that centers women of color in public health. And a fair question, and one that I take very seriously, is why do I feel like it's my place to do this? And how is this actually benefiting the women whose voices I'm centering? I don't answer that by trying to prove that I'm the right person. I answer it through how I do the work. I ask people how they want to be named. I follow their lead in conversation. I don't edit their words or shape their stories. And when someone shows me something I didn't see, I adjust. The podcast has changed because of the women who have been on it. The language has changed. The framing has changed. My own thinking has changed. So for me, this is not about claiming authority. It's about creating space and being accountable to what happens in that space over time, and continuing to ask, is this actually serving the people it's meant to serve? And just like courage, this is something I keep learning to see more clearly over time. So when I look back across these 50 conversations, there are a few things that stand out. The first thing I've learned is this: courage is already happening everywhere, all the time. Across 50 conversations, I've heard story after story of women making hard decisions, navigating uncertainty, holding boundaries, speaking truth in complex environments, and almost none of them called it courage. They called it doing my job, doing what needed to be done, just getting through. So here's what I see now. Courage, especially among women in public health, is not rare. It's unrecognized. And here's what happens when it is recognized. Something shifts. I've seen it happen in real time. Before we hit record, someone will say, I don't know if I have anything courageous to share. And then we start talking. And they begin remembering and naming. And you can see it in their body. Their shoulders drop. They sit up a little straighter. Their voice changes. Because the moment that someone recognizes their own courage, they don't just feel different. They lead differently. And that leads to the third thing I've learned. Courage is not a personality trait. It's not something some people have and other people don't. It's not about being fearless. Courage shows up in very specific conditions. Under pressure, under constraint, when there's risk, and alignment still feels possible. Courage is not who you are. It's what you do when the stakes are real. And this next one surprised me the most. So the biggest barrier to courage isn't fear. It's misclassification. Because when people don't recognize their actions as courage, they classify them as responsibility, obligation, survival, just getting through. And when something is misclassified, it disappears. It can't be supported. It can't be strengthened. It can't be scaled. So when courage is misclassified, it disappears from how we think about leadership. And this is where everything started to shift for me. Because what I realized is this: courage does not have to be accidental. It doesn't have to show up only in crisis or be something we recognize after the fact. Courage can be intentional. I'm going to say that again. I'm going to say it again. Courage can be intentional. I see that in my own life. So, okay, I want to share something with you. I'm really excited to share this. Last week, I submitted my manuscript entitled Transmission, an Epidemiologist's Memoir, to 4 different publishers. Yay! And I can tell you honestly, this wasn't bravery. It wasn't fearlessness. It was recognizing the exposure, the vulnerability, the risk of being seen, and choosing to move forward anyway. I'm pretty sure that a few years ago, I might not have called that courage. I might have called it just finishing something, just doing what I said I would do. But now I see it clearly. That was courage, and it was intentional. And that's what I mean. It's already there. We just don't always see it. If courage sounds abstract, it's only because we haven't been taught to see it in the decisions we're already making. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. And from there, something else becomes clear. This is not just a conversation. This is leadership capacity. Because in public health, leaders are operating under sustained pressure. We're operating under burnout, constraint, uncertainty. And in those conditions, courage becomes the thing that allows leaders to make decisions, use their voice, stay aligned with their values, even when it's difficult. And when that becomes intentional, leadership changes. Episode 1 was me choosing courage before I fully understood what it was. I mean, I already had it tattooed on my arm, but I didn't fully understand what it was yet. Episode 50 is me understanding it and living it. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking about your own work, your own decisions, your own leadership, I want you to consider something. Where are you already being courageous that you haven't named yet? Because it's there. And once you see it, you can start using it. I am Dr. Christy McClamroch. Thank you so much for being part of these first 50 episodes. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay courageous. Thank you for listening to the Courageous Public Health Podcast. Visit courageouspublichealth.com to find the show notes for each episode and learn how to connect with us.